First and foremost, shout out to you. I appreciate you all for being here. If I can just get this freaking phone to just sit up here, man. Y'all know how I feel about the sun. Where I've been at, the sun is like it's been like hidden for a while. Like it snowed, or man, what the? So I'll be trying to get them sunbeams. They call me crazy. I'm gonna scoot the chair up just to lean back like this, just to get them sunbeams. I ain't bullshit. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Shout out to us. Shout out to we. Shout out to us. Shout out to we. Shout out to you. Shit. Y'all all right out there? No one told me it was supposed to gonna be this way. I'm laughingly, jokingly saying that. It's wild because we so programmed to laugh at our trauma. It's okay to laugh, but God, that's a real thing. We'll sit down and laugh so long at traumas. It's like that's a deep programming, especially in like melanated community, in certain demographics. Let's give honor to Source, to the Most High for making all these things possible, for conspiring. Let's give honor to the universe for conspiring everybody to be here. Shout out to you. Shout out to all of you, the youth, the elders, no matter what your age is. Shout out to you. I love you. I appreciate you. I value you. You are valuable. You are lovable. You came here to be loved and to love yourself, most importantly. I know that's challenging. I'm still unlearning and relearning. I'm still learning to hold a compassionate place for my fucking self. I'm still realizing, like, yeah, the divine, like, I gave you this journey just so you can talk about it. There ain't nobody else gonna do it but you. So for you that's out there, I got some little notes here. Shout out to Yumi, U-M-I, Genevieve. I just trust I did not butcher her name. But she always makes these posts in regards to like those who are into astrology. If not, let the rest fly. Whatever, you still can resonate with a message. You still can get something. I'm just a messenger. I'm not here to convince you to believe and accept and to be a part of something. Nah, there's levels to it. And what I mean by levels, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, from youth to teenagers to adults, it's something we can relate to. And I always tell people that where the pain is, there's a gain. Where there's a wound, there's healing that can take place. So, hopefully I got some chapstick. You ain't got to keep seeing me lick my voluptuous lips that I used to hate oh so much, but I love these motherfuckers, boy. I probably got bite marks. I be getting so angry sometimes. Like, oh, you ain't had bite mark. Then you know if you got a tooth up there, I got bite marks up here. Judge me, I don't care. Still beautiful inside and out. But shout out to Yumi. I got some notes here. I'm probably gonna do multiple videos on this. So yeah. Trying to see how I want to dive into this. I want to get real comfortable. Trying to see what the lighting is. But anywho, yeah, man. It's been a process. Vulnerability is a superpower. You know, it's how you get your heart light when you really face your fears. And boy, have I not been facing them up. But that mirror is no joke. That reflection is no joke. When you gotta look at you, when you can't blame nobody else, and you gotta look at you, you can't put it on nobody else. Shout out to Yumi. And I wrote these down like in notes, and some I worded myself. But if you would like to go check her out, she is available on YouTube and Facebook, and I believe on Instagram. Yes, Yumi Genevieve. I will put her name in the description or the video link or something like that. So, anywho, because it's like. I'm grateful because as much as, again, I want to run away from stuff, I'm literally mirror back shit. Even though I'm going through this transition, where I told you our vulnerability is a superpower. We are taught so much not to share like our experiences. And I know a lot of us, some of us grew up in environments where sharing those experiences can be very challenging because you have people or have had people due to their programming and foundations who have been manipulative or mischievous or jealous or envy, where they use certain information and take it somewhere else or spread it. But I'll be the first to say that's the best thing ever anyone could have done, and especially where I'm at, how I've learned more to be more secure within myself, and on an energetic level, how I've learned how to literally transmute, alchemize this shit through speaking, through artistry, through creating a more balanced and secure life. It has been a process. So again, shout out to you, because this topic is very important. I'm trying to see which one I want to dive into first. But yeah, shout out. This is a special shout out to all of you. The zodiac signs she listed was cardinal signs, which is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Now, we all can carry these energies. Those of you that are into natal charts, so we'll come into that. So there's no specific sign when you hear people say, oh, I'm this, I'm that. We carry a lot of these energies. Everyone do. But this one right here really hit me. It really hit me to where I was like, whoa. I had a lot of frustration. I took it out on people because I was frustrated. But at the same time, I cried about it. I don't feel like this is talked about enough when when she was relating this to how having no role models for your career path. So I'm going to start there. And I'm going to use my own experience from even, like, I've talked about this, discussed my childhood, but even from when I was a little boy and my artistry and what I created, I realized how much of a spiritual battle, how much of a, realizing how much of a lot of things that was leading me to my breakdown just for a breakthrough. And for me to come deeper into my awareness of my lessons and who I am and what I'm here to do. That one right there, no role models for career paths or just even growing up. And one thing I really speak on, like, very, how could I say this? Was so important about this is that a lot of us, and I'm learning this, even how much it has affected my relationships. And this is not even just pertaining to career, but lifestyle. How, a lot of us subconsciously, through our conscious experience or through our physical experience, have seen consistently dysfunction, communities, not just in the home, but I was reflecting on this, communities of people being at odds, fighting and shit. I was sitting here reflecting on that. I was like, bro, I remember, like, even from not just my childhood, but even into high school, where even if I wasn't fighting or doing something, I saw it through other people. I saw it in the communities. And, a lot of us now are like, it's been our mission and goal to get as far as away from drama, dysfunctionality, people that are unhealed or have unresolved traumas as we know it now, to be more aware on an energetic level, on a deeper level, generationally and ancestrally speaking. And it says no role models for the career paths. And it's like, I realized, like, I never seen no consistency of a healthy man in his career, bro. When I see people, and I'm just calling a spade, you cannot come to me, and that's why I feel like so much of the powers that used to be targeting especially younger kids and us at a young age, we really believe a rap life or rap lifestyle, and even just it naturally, because this is what we're giving young. football, basketball, just those three main things. Rap, being a rapper, basketball, football is just normally a natural career path. Now, we know growing up what that is and what that entails when it comes to us just being placed out there. Now, I like to get this shit in levels and stuff. Now, when I say role models, and I use that term lightly, but I'm going to say a healthy partnership or connection from a man to another, from a little boy when I was younger to a man, seeing any type of role models who really value integrity, truth, and honesty. And, I know I ruffle feathers when I be speaking about this basketball and football stuff, and it is what it is, but, normally what we saw as role models will be the coaches and so forth. But I always tell people, like, yo, I had someone approach me about, speaking to the youth, which is great and all. The most difficult thing about trying to be, if you want to use the term role model, or walk upright, or being this righteous path, or try to be healthy for yourself, is that we forget about, in this human experience, that we have shortcomings and mistakes. And I feel like that's just as important in a vulnerable place as a man, to express to these kids that I'm not here to save you, because I too go through shit. I too am learning just as you are, because if you're talking to youth that are, I don't even like to say troubled, I just like to say that they're going through something internally that maybe they only know the depths of, that they don't talk about. And what I mean by that is, like, when I see, these kids, or even us that are 30s and 40s, a lot of them never had consistent or healthy role models, or even people who walk in integrity. Because we will find out, oh, such and such is this, or such and such is this, or such and such is in the school, or outside of that mask or role modeling that they do or portray. I look at the depths of, like, who are you outside of that coach uniform? Who are you outside of that, whatever it is? And most importantly, who are you to yourself and or to your family? So, the most challenging thing about all of this is, like, I don't want to be a role model. And it's so challenging to where not having role models for my career, and that's getting into the career aspect, is having to pioneer my own path as an artist, as a writer, as a speaker, and not having any type of, which I'm going to read next, proper representation in these areas. Do you know how difficult it is as a child, and I speak for myself and then even the youth that's coming up, when, they go into these settings whether basketball, football, but we're forgetting about the fact that these two are human beings that are, depending on their demographics, that are probably still seeking out some type of validation, acceptance, and so forth. Being a lot of these, due to the demographics, a lot of these darker shaded boys are literally programmed to go into these settings without proper representations. And you see that a lot, which I'm bringing up the fact of, like, you will see a lot of these boys crash out if they don't make it to the NBA or go beyond or become pro. And the reason I say that is, like, I just knew that wasn't my career path or my path, because I'm now loving, and this is the thing about on a deeper level, especially to you young ones and youth, the beauty of where I'm at now is that I see how amazing that I love to speak. I love to be able to pour into myself and to pour into y'all. I appreciate you all, because I'm so honored, because at a point in my life, again, I had probably 5 or 6 opportunities to play overseas, to be in some type of professional environment. And again, the role model aspect in that career path, because I did not play high school, I did not play middle school, I did not do none of that in basketball. I actually pretty much start to play with certain people, or was consistent in what I was doing. I had opportunities to do a lot of things, play in tournaments, be around people who were in that professional atmosphere. Now, with that being said, the proper representation in that area was the fact of, not only was the role model having no guidance with that, the first time I got an offer to play in South America, I didn't even know how to get a passport. I was in a relationship with a woman with multiple kids at 20 something. Again, this goes back to even guidance. This goes back to even a lot of things deeper on the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual level, where again, a lot of these young boys, and such as myself, who have mommy issues, mother issues, or things going on internally, that they cling to said women, or end up in relationships where they're hindering their own personal growth and the other person. But again, this goes back to the role modeling aspect, because even in those career paths, or going in that career paths, a lot of us are not aware of even the discipline we need to have before, around ourselves, sex, alcohol, just anything that keeps us in a holistic, or in a more aware state as a man. Because young men are, their approach is more assertive, or their awareness is different than a little girl and a woman. So again, when we're talking about not having really someone who is trying to guide or discipline us, or even give some type of concrete input on how we should approach things. Again, I had opportunities years. I remember the guy offered me, after a tournament when we won this championship, to play in South America. I was so excited to tell the woman that I was with, which was much older. And again, being that I didn't have someone there on top of me with it, who knows where I could have been at that moment, which I have no regrets and so forth, because that went on for like 2 to 3 years, when a guy literally was asking me, are you ready now? Are you ready now? Because I wasn't honest to tell him, like, I knew how to get a passport, even when I could have. I was more so ashamed, or really felt misguided, or have been in such this place where, should I leave or should I go? Again, this attachment to this person and environment and so forth. When again, when I reflect now having, a passport and whatever, but now having, a partner, kids, which still is so funny about this is like, that's how vital the representation is, because, here, a young boy who have this gift, have this ability, natural gift, and can only get better and master it, which I have over the years, and just sit back and reflect and be like, wow, bro, I know I could have been there. I know I could have been here. And this is what happens with a lot of young men when they carry a lot of guilt and shame, because their only outlet, when they have no role models, when they're trying to pursue said career or have any type of guidance, is they stay stuck in this mindset, this survival mindset. A lot of these demographics, we're taught to just survive, or, and that's what I realized, like, now, the awareness around this now, is that the divine, or, what I was being shown over the years or through my own growth, is that not only wasn't that path for me, but it was for me to really see more of myself. It was really leading me to where I am now. Can I still play? Absolutely. I still, you know what I'm saying? The approach would be completely different if anything presented itself like that. Now, getting back to the proper representation in those areas, that says a lot when you have coaches. One thing I learned about even the politics behind sports, and I learned this by it's so deep, man. This shit is so good because not only does the role models important. I remember because I don't think I ever talked about this, but my first experience with collegiate basketball or going into that environment was around 2000 and when I got accepted at school was around, what was it, 2001, 2 or whatever. And was it, no, 2000 and 2000, I'm boy, 2012, I believe. Was it 2012? Yeah. Phew, boy. You have to remember your age and stuff. But with that, it's so deep when you talk about the awareness, and I'm telling you, all this I'm about to read is like how I had to really have a fearless approach to everything. I had to realize how much of a risk taker I was. A lot of things I've done, I'm the first to ever do it. And I realized, like, no one's gonna hold your hand, no one's gonna baby you, because a lot of people can see your light. And some people are envious and jealous, or even just, they know they see your light, but they won't support it, whether relationships, family dynamics, and so forth. So this brings up a memory to where I was literally at a chicken plant called Tyson's Food in North Carolina. And I know a lot of people that can connect to this. And it's like I don't attack people in no way because of how they put food on the table and so forth. It doesn't matter where I go. It doesn't matter where I've been. I've always been a risk taker. I've always been one to do something outside of the norm. I couldn't ever become complacent, content, or comfortable with said environments because I just know not only where I've come from, what I've gotten through, but how everything is so worth it because you have to be fearless depending on your demographics. Times when you didn't want to fight, but you had to. Physically, mentally, emotionally, so forth, spiritual warfare. So I recall working at this chicken plant, and I applied for this school. I didn't have no type of guidance. I'm talking about so deep. This proper representation shit is so deep because I got people in the family that never finished high school. Some did go to school, college, or whatever, but I had people that never did certain things. So for me, I end up, again, not having the proper role models. I realized how much that affected me, even in basketball and so forth, because of attitude, emotional impulsiveness. But that was one of my healthiest outlets. So, not really having a consistent man or, person on you about like being mindful and then really the consistency of even getting things done. Like a lot of stuff, I just start learning consistently to complete and feeling that sense of accomplishment after like 25 and 30. Like even with the books, that's why it's so much of a milestone. And then now learning to try to even celebrate that instead of trying to live out that survival mode, chase a bag, or feel like, oh, I gotta obtain this. Okay, I'm done with this. I gotta do this. And even learning how to rest, yo. So again, getting back to the proper representation, there were times where I was at a chicken plant and I remember being there for a few months, but my mindset was always on to the next of like moving forward. I got something, deep down in my spirit, my soul. I was like, this is not it. I'm better than this. I always felt greater than my environment. Even in this world, I always felt bigger than what anyone tried to put me in or anybody else, my mama, that anybody. It didn't matter, relationship and so forth. So I remember working literally at a chicken plant. Those of you who don't know, look up Tyson Food. It was a chicken plant where the chickens come in alive and they hang them. And, this was a place where most of in the small town or surrounding towns or cities, that a lot of people, they knew that they can make, and I'm gonna just be real, they knew they could make a couple $100 an hour. I mean, couple $100 a week. And to us, we thinking like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. But boy, when you, man, listen, it at a time when you in survival mode, it ain't about the money, but it is about the money. So again, I'm in this environment. I'm like, yo, this is greater. Like I gotta do something better. But I didn't have no representation when I applied for my first school. Because before that, again, I was getting kicked out of school, suspended or whatever. No one ever got on me about a lot of things. No type of male figures or men who, some was here and there, but nothing consistently about discipline. And what I mean by that, a part of having no role models, not just in life, but your career path, is that parental, or I like to say caregiver, or even father, mother support, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the discipline in that, so that you can have a healthy, or learn that out there in the world is completely different than when you're doing something. Your world is different, but out there in the other world with other people, their worlds are different. Your response has to be different. Your reaction can't be the same. This will affect you and everyone else. So, times where I would get kicked out of school, going to alternative schools, what they called it, getting kicked out of there was always something in me like, man, you gotta improve, self-improvement. I ended up getting my GED. I ended up trying to go to a community college. It's just certain things I realized now, reflecting, not having said role models in these career paths and so forth. There was no one really on top of me about completing things. Literally the accomplishment, just going. And I use the term failure because I'm not a failure, but in school they use the term failure when you just go and then don't complete it. So I use that term. So with that, again, my mind was more focused on other things, seeking out relationships, seeking out acceptance, but still living life, still realizing like, okay, there's something coming better from this. So again, the representation aspect is like, when I applied for the school and I got accepted, I remember it was like 2 a.m. in the rising, after like a late night at a shift. I think it was like 1 something a.m. or a late night on a like a second shift, at the workplace. And I was so excited because I'm like, bro, I get to get out of here. But for some people, it's like that's all they know. And that's why I feel like the dangers is where, like, when you're surrounded or in communities where you've having to parent yourself, you've having to be fearless in your approach. And it also mentioned how after proper representation in these areas, feeling that this path is impossible. And let me tell you, the doubts, the times where I got so hard on myself young, and even going through, I use this term like, if you are ever in this place, seek out some type of support, whether therapy or talk to someone. But suicide, going through a lot of things where I felt like the journey was so impossible, until I gradually started to learn, like when I looked at that word, it says I'm possible. But it really feels like it was impossible every time I would get somewhere. It felt like I would be, how that saying goes, 10 steps forward, you go take 5 steps forward and 10 steps back. So I didn't really have a lot of representation in a lot of things I did. That's why I say shout out to all of you, that a lot of you had to go through. You know what I mean by when I say it can feel very lonely when you are trying to do things that have never been approached or never been sought out, or traveling a path least traveled on your journey. Even when there's no support from the community, the family, even in relationships, like that shit happens too. Because a lot of us, or I have learned that one of the most detrimental things you can ever do is expect you from someone else. And it's not to say it cannot be reciprocated or some type of equally yoke or balanced thing, but to even expect a certain reaction or response or whatever it is from someone else, it's not going to be exactly on point. But again, like me telling y'all about my experience where I had to apply for that school and learn, and then even in those moments, it showed me a lot about people, bro. It showed me a lot about how my own mother, how my own family at the time, someone I was seeing, actually, like when I went up there the first time, my mom went with me, and I didn't really, because again, I had to do all the financial aid stuff. I had to do a lot of stuff by myself. I didn't really have support. Sometimes we in fear, try to ask for it because we know the answer already. So a lot of things I try to do by myself. So the first time I went up there, I'm thinking like, okay, I got all my stuff packed. This is something I don't know no one else has done. And, especially to go that far away. And so when I get up there, they're like, well, you're not able to come in because you still have something else that you have to fill out and so forth. So, at the time, I'm going to be honest, I don't give a fuck because it's honesty. A lot of us, especially due to certain demographics and survival, we've had to lie purposely just to try to get away. Literally. Like, my mama didn't know how to do financial aid. Some of y'all people don't even, like, when I talk about representation, you got some people are literally just sitting back, wait till you come into something, whether it's money, inheritance, or whatever it is, but they won't represent shit that you're doing. They won't support you on your path, in your career, but they want the fruits of your labor. They want to reap the harvest that you have sowed the seeds for. So it's very challenging when you're sitting here, like, when I say I had no role models, like I had people I can look to, but that's not something, it's go as deep as like I had a role model or person that I was inspired by, but to hear a comment like they were jealous of certain things, and I'm like, man, you got more than I have in a sense of materialistically, or it seems like you're more well off. Then I start learning you're here to do something greater, and they realize like some people won't support you. Some people won't, they're breadcrumb you. And it's nothing against them, but it's just the reality of learning the acceptance of being secure within yourself. And it seemed like the journey or the path of where you're going is impossible. And so again, having to do that shit when I know that I wasn't supposed to fill out certain information, I had to go and ask. I had to ask somebody else for certain information because my mom was nowhere to be found, bro. And that's why I say it's a lot of you out there that are literally on an impossible path, it seems, to everybody, or unbelievable story. But when I say I believe in myself and I believe in you, that's why I believe in you, and I know you can do it, and you already have done it, it's already written, it's because you're still here. But you can still breathe. That vision you've been given, I tell myself, no one's going to believe the visionary until the vision is actually into fruition or until it comes into the physical. You don't even got to tell them you told them so. It's just about aligning yourself with the right people. And even the people that it seems like they've wronged or wronged you, they still were the right people. Just to remind you. Got a bug in my nose, I don't even care. Whatever. So, yeah, man, it's like, I had to fill out information where I knew, like I didn't know how to do everything because no type of representation. Here I am trying to go to school for, didn't even know what the fuck I was really doing, but I was still fearless. I still knew that I had to do something great. I still knew that I had to be the first, even if it seems like to some people, oh, well, he didn't finish. So what? I was still the first to go attend some type of university and get the fuck away, get out of Dodge. And that was always something that, again, that reminded me, like, there's going to come a point in time where you have to leave. You have to leave the nest. You have to go and stay away. Even if it's, bro, I'm telling you, I done been in places where I didn't know where my next dollar was going to come. I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent. I didn't know I didn't know. But I was so fearless on my approach. And that's what it says next. Being fearless on your approach in uncharted waters, it leads to your biggest breakthrough. That's one of the greatest lessons that I've learned. Again, it's like, had I not did that, working at that chicken plant and moving forward, I would have never gotten into modeling. I would have never learned more about like fashion, meeting people from all walks of life, meeting people from different countries. When I sit here and reflect and realize like there are people who have stayed in their hometowns their whole life. Man. People have stayed in their hometowns most of their lives. And these are the people who are never encouraging and never supporting because that's their path, and it literally they have the most anxiety and fear around you moving forward because of their own selfish attachments to how big you're gonna become, or you being the next great thing in whatever it is, which is already destined, which no one choose that for you. I mean, you choose it yourself, but it's something within you have to choose and be ready for. And be ready for everything to fall away, for shit that not even make sense sometimes, for you to even love yourself through the most darkest moments, facing those fears ancestrally. It was something on here where it says the anxiety comes up around needing to carry a generation that came before you, and most importantly, after you finish. And then sometimes we get caught up in finishing our parents' dreams, which can cause resentment and anxiety. The ones who, the caregivers who went to school, or certain parents who went to school and didn't finish, or wanted to do this and didn't finish. And sometimes we get pushed into that career field, or pushed into things where, our mother and fathers may not have the finances or may not have certain things, but we still try to find a way to believe in ourselves, even when they gave up. You know how much anxiety and shit came up around like certain things where I realized, like, what am I doing? The resentment of how, when I talked about my father wound and mother wound, how I had a father that I'm like, bro, you have to realize, like, as much as you want this connection between you and I, there's still a possibility. But I asked of you, a lot of us know that feeling, like no role model, no type of support. When some people had to leave or some people were not there, and you're asking us now to be this, you're asking now to have a father-son relationship, or mother-son, mother-daughter, whatever it is, relationship, when we've had to mother and father ourselves, when we had to be our first role model, when we had to learn to be our first and last love, when we had to represent ourselves in the areas where no one else was supporting us. I've had to be my biggest fucking cheerleader, representative, role model, first and last love in everything that I'm doing. I was trying to say I didn't have people along on my journey that was supportive, but I also had to recognize, like, I couldn't, they were not going to baby me. I couldn't sit there and wait on handouts, even when it may look like that. Because I know to some people, one thing about this path, people will see the unwavering faith of how you have endured so much and overcame so much, and still don't realize, like, bro, thank the Most High I don't look like what the fuck I've been through. I can still be able to talk. I can still be able to be confident. I can still have faith when moments where, again, I don't know in moments where, at times where I didn't know how this was going to get paid, where the resources is going to come from. That's going to be another video, because she talked about certain fixed signs, which is Aquarius, Scorpio, Libra, Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and there was another one. Well, I'll get deeper into that. But again, this cardinal energy is for a lot of people who could probably relate to the storyline or whatever. Take with what you will, let the rest fly, receive it, whatever. So again, the challenging, like, a lot of us had to be a lot of things for ourselves, and still do. going into these career paths, and it almost seems like we going into this motherfucker naked. No nothing. I've had to go do stuff with the same clothes, bro. I had to get up and like only had 3 outfits. Or I had to, times where I couldn't wash my ass at certain times, bro. And still created some art. And still created a mural. You know what I'm saying? The beauty is it's almost like it's the delusion in it. It's almost still like a child. Like a child not going to put his happiness to the side unless it's been programmed over time to been told no so much, to be told like you're not able to do this. And a lot of us have been in environments and around foundations where we have been around people so much consistently not knowing or not willing to step outside of their comfort zone. So that's the first role model that we're seeing, or that's the first visual that we're seeing in mother and father who are not fulfilled or fulfilling their desires or having their needs met, and also having foundations and giving us foundations where they're not even happy inside. So immediately as a child, you have this connection, this emotional connection where, I had to learn over time where I had to liberate myself from the emotional wound to my mother to realize, like, before I go save her ass, if I come into something and do something, this entitlement from family or someone else, I have to save me first. I have to pour into me first. I have to plan a trip and do something for me. Because no one was there it's not to say you don't go support and do stuff with people, but no one was there for me like me. Know thyself to show thyself approved. No one was there for me like me, and no one will ever be there for me like me. So when I say this no role model thing, it's painful, but at the same time, it don't have to be painful no more. It's even more encouraging. And so, and that's what I was just saying, like the being afraid of being vulnerable. And then it says the fear of putting oneself in a position to show low moments. Like a lot of y'all would never know what someone is going through until they express it. And it's not like, I don't say these things for sympathy. It's more so empathy and compassion for self, and then for others that are going through things, especially economically, demographically, psychologically, physically, mentally, emotionally, on so many levels that you don't know nothing about. But we're so quick to judge because we think that our pain is greater than someone else's. In this collective scheme of things in humanity, it's like we have dissociated or disconnected ourselves from so much of what we have experienced and numbed ourselves that we don't even realize, like, one body, one mind, one soul, as the great Bob Marley would say, rest in power. These things are vital. When I hurt, you hurt in a way, but we have so much disassociated ourselves from the fact of that we don't even know what it is to have compassion or to realize like what we have done has affected other people. So I had to overcome that big hill or, fear of the vulnerability. And it wasn't so much of like with you all, it was about myself. I couldn't lie to myself no more. I couldn't lie to the people no more and say, hey, look, this is cool, but it's not cool. I really don't want to be here, or I really gotta, rest. I really don't want to do that. And that's the part of pouring into myself, because you're not gonna just be like, oh, I'll support you with this, or I'll give you this and do it, because everyone cannot do that at that moment, And so with that, it's the mindfulness in realizing that I have to accept and sit with myself and what I'm going through and do what I love. So let me see, did that cover everything? Yeah. Oh yeah. The needing to carry on a legacy can be very also challenging, because in that, one thing I've learned is like the importance of pouring into yourself, man, and not forgetting about yourself, because trying to carry that legacy part and leave something behind, and not just materialistically, is more so of how you realize how much nothing was instilled, no role model, no representation, and you're asked to carry this load, or you're asked to, from the divine or source, to step up this lifetime, in this moment, as a representation of your lineage. And then what type of legacy are you going to leave behind, beyond this physical vessel? What truth, what integrity, what foundation on all levels. And so, yeah, man, I'm telling you, bro, this was that all? What was the other ones? Oh, being the first and only, being the first and only to do something and not expect, or says expect, basically I put expect handouts or to be babied. And that's huge because, man, let me tell you, there's a lot of things I did not want to accept on my path when it came to why I was like, you know what? I was given this path to rise above it, just to realize, like, I know now they weren't meant to baby me. There was a situation where I needed a lot of people's support from family, but I sit back and reflect now. It's like, yo, that shit had to happen. It had to happen. You know why? I wouldn't even be who I am now with the utmost confidence and be secure and balanced and stable, and try to realize, like, those foundations were to be shaken. And I was to rebuild something within myself, something that even your lineage, family, or people who have never witnessed with the natural eye, or even something you can only, experience internally, to be reborn within yourself, and then to come out with said things, and, it to some they're still in disbelief. And so that's why the path has been given to you. And it was also saying how to the importance of your own name rather than instead of the family. That was huge for me, bro. Because, even my own personal experience with my own kids and whatever, it's like certain things you want to do, and it's automatically, because we've been programmed to just automatically be of service to other people and forget about ourselves individually. And there's a balance. Because there's certain things independently that I am like grateful for. And I said I've done through my own will and free will of, accomplishing certain things. So, there are things where I had to learn to celebrate those milestones, to celebrate myself. Because I'm like, had I not had the courage, had I not got up and did that, and, and then the importance in that name, that branding your name, branding yourself, like, that was huge. Because, again, we will, this upbringing a lot of us have is that we ignore so many signs and red flags, and not have boundaries, to where when we implement them, before we implement them, we just automatically think we're supposed to subscribe to the dysfunctional family, or that same narrative. But in your recreating, reinventing, reevaluating, and learning more of your self-worth and self-value, that's on you. That's for you to accomplish. They didn't do that with you. They were just to show you why you needed to do that for you. And it's okay, because in your world, you know what it took to get there. Now, for them, if you want to celebrate and do certain things, that's different. For those who did support in any type of way. And so that's why I see the importance now of being your own brand, or, your own individualism, but still seeing the beauty in the collective, or, the bigger picture. Let me see. And the last one was like, everyone expects you to lead the way, which can feel very lonely. Whew, I'm going to end it on this. Man, let me tell you something. Since I was young, I always knew that I was said, like, leader. Now, there's a saying goes like, every leader was a follower at one point in time, which I can get that, because we had to learn and follow someone, and, to self-sabotaging, or, a dead end and so forth, to learn, like, you still will have to lead yourself and come into leading yourself, everyone, or be self-sufficient. Now, with that, it's like, I can see the pressure around that so much where people won't, believe like, where you're here to lead us out of this. You're here to lead us out of, and that's why I feel like I'm no one's savior. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even my kid's savior. I'm not no one's savior, because at a point in time, I'm a guide, just as they're a guide for me. But when it comes to like leading, now I can see that in a different perspective, where I'm being asked to lead and being put in a position to lead. And that comes from a different awareness or learning through my own path. But like, when it comes from a place of like people's selfish attachment, when they want to attach themselves, when they can knowingly lead their own lives, but selfishly attach themselves to the idea of them following or hanging on to your coattail, that's different. Because the reason why I can feel very lonely is because of that said representation or support, or even people who, knowing that they could, with integrity support, but due to their ego and due to their internal block, their internal war with themselves or how others may feel, they don't do it. So yes, that shit can feel very lonely, very much so. And I can see why people say it's lonely at the top. But again, the beauty of it is that the security that you obtain within yourself and the awareness of everyone cannot go, and where you're being led, everyone cannot be a leader. Or when you're also being led, everyone cannot go, because they're aware, they're I don't like to use the term lack, but really the lack thereof of like their awareness, or even the lack of the inability to be emotionally secure, or more so like a liability rather than knowing that they're an asset. I feel like that's very important in leadership, is knowing that you are an asset and recognizing who's a liability when it comes to set areas, business, and so forth. So, to tidy all this up, shout out to you again, who all have been on this journey, whether it feels lonely or not, or, be grateful. It's an honor. At the time I felt like it was a curse, but it was, at the same moment, I had to realize that it was a gift to be in the present and to share these messages, and realize like all of it was just preparing you for your career path. And you have to be fearless. And that's something that we're naturally are, we just have to redevelop. And that's one thing about me, is like, that can seem very intimidating in people, when I realize like how much, like, in my vulnerability, how fearless I can be, or in my approach, how fearless I can be, even when people cannot relate to it. It can be very intimidating. And that's not just from looks for some people. That's not just from what you have, but it can still be intimidating, because there can be an expectancy for you to people want you to not progress or succeed, but they are not the Most High, they're not Source, the Creator, whatever. No one, nothing or no one has dominion over your life. You are here just as well as you've been on this path to do something that the world has never seen. And we're doing it. And I'm doing it right now. Because a lot of stuff I was sitting here like, whoa, how? But the beauty of it is like to see where it's taking me and going, and I already spread my wings. I'm just honored and grateful. So again, chin up. It's okay to sit in the corner and cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to honor your emotions. It's okay to be you. It is okay to be you. Okay? Ashy lips and all. Crooked tooth and all. Confident inside and all. It's okay to be you, because that's the new word. It's like, before we try to find flaws about each other, what can we find great about ourselves first? Then we'll be able to see the greatness in a lot of people. That's the beauty in all of this. It's literally divinely unfolding. So that's all I got. Y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.